This is the first experiment of chromatography in which we have to separate the mixture of ions. It could be copper and cadmium or it could be lead and cadmium. So how do we perform this experiment is we take this filter paper, which is Wattsman filter paper, which is a special type of filter paper. We take a pencil, put a dot in the center so that we know where we are supposed to put a mixture. So we put a dot here, then using a very thin capillary tube, we put the mixture on the dot. We let it dry for just for few seconds. We take it again and put the mixture on the dot and let it dry for a while. Then we take a glass rod. We measure the distance that it has to be hung. कितनी height पे उसको hang करना है, that we see that the tip should get dipped in the solvent. तो उसको measure करके then we take the glass rod like this and we hang it into the solvent, and only the tip should get dissolved, only the tip should enter, right? And we hang it like this for a while. इतना होना चाहिए कि solvent, when it rises up due to capillary action, it also takes the mixture, components of the mixture along with it, and it looks something like this. If you can see it, the solvent has risen up to almost this level. So once it is done, we take it out and leave it to dry for some time. We leave it to dry and we mark the level up to which the solvent has risen. जहाँ तक हाथ हाँ जब तक आप जहाँ तक सॉल्वेंट गया गीले में इसको मार्क करते हैं, so that because after it dries off then maybe you will not find the level up to which it has risen up. So we allow it to dry for a while. Then this is a developer, क्योंकि कॉपर कैडमियम या फिर लेड कैडमियम they are both colorless. So we dip it in a, see, this is the solvent which is a developer, and we dip it in this and we can see that we get a developed chromatogram, and we can see two distinct black as well as yellow components, right? And now once it is done, we leave it to dry for a while. जब ये dry हो जाता है, we do taping with this क्योंकि ये disappear हो जाते हैं colors. So we do the taping, and after taping the chromatogram looks like this. So till here is the experimental part. After this, when you get this done, you paste it in the file like this neatly. And what we have to measure or calculate in this is RF value. RF value is distance traveled by. When we talk about RF value, it is the distance traveled by one of the component divided by total distance traveled by the solvent. So how do we measure that? This is an observation table that you have to make. और इसमें जो डिस्टेंस मेजर निकालना है वो यहाँ से निकालना है, डॉट से जहाँ पे आपने मिक्सचर लगाया था. Where you had put the mixture, you have to measure the distance traveled by black, you have to measure the distance traveled by yellow. Now suppose the mark is big like this, ये पूरा आपका येलो आ रहा है, तो डिस्टेंस कहाँ तक लगाएंगे? सेंटर ऑफ द मार्क यू हैव टू मेजर. सो यू स्टार्ट फ्रॉम द बेस लाइन, डिस्टेंस ट्रैवल, यू कैन सी द ब्लैक पार्ट इज हियर. सो अप टू दिस, जहाँ पे सबसे ज़्यादा आपका आएगा उतना डिस्टेंस ट्रैवल बाय येलो, ब्लैक विल बी दिस, येलो इज अप टू हियर. सो दिस इज द डिस्टेंस ट्रैवल बाय येलो, एंड फॉर सॉल्वेंट इट रोज अप टू दिस. तो यहाँ तक फ्रॉम द बेस लाइन, not distance gap between these two. It has to be distance traveled from the baseline up to the distance traveled by the solvent, distance traveled by black, distance traveled by the yellow. Yellow is cadmium and black is your lead. So distance traveled by lead will be this much, distance traveled by cadmium will be this much. So you measure it from here, and the solvent is here, and the rest is just calculation part. Distance traveled by whatever is component 1, distance traveled by the solvent, and RF value will be 1.4 divided by 8.5, whatever you get, and that is how you are supposed to give the result. And result or the readings are never given in pencil, it is always, they are always written with a pen. So this is how chromatography experiment is done. There is one more in which we separate colored inks, and it also is the procedure is absolutely same, and they are colored inks, so you don't need a developer for this. So again, you calculate the distance traveled and you find out the RF values of these two colored components.